We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Okay, today's topic is Battle of the Soy Boys. Today's topic is the Battle of the Soy Boys. Battle of the Soy Boys. Tucker Carlson versus Nick Fuentes. This is peak soy. This is peak soy. You know, if you're gonna watch this, don't add soy to your latte. You're gonna get enough soy just watching this Tucker Carlson interview. So let me put it this way. I've said it before. Tucker Carlson is a nice guy. I like Nick Fuentes. I like both of them. They're both nice. They're just Tucker Carlson is very soft. Tucker Carlson is a very soft man. He's very soft and he's very acquiescent. And soft acquiescent pays off in this world. When you're run by the people that run America, it's best to be soft and acquiescent. The softer you are, the more filled with soy you are, the further you're going to get in life in America. If you're soft and you're filled with soy, you're going a long way in at Fox News or at Palantir. And let's not forget that Tucker Carlson basically works for the Palantir JD Vance group. Let's not forget that's what this really is. And I've said many times that Paul, St. Paul, is at the center of this interracial, gay, interracial, Jewish system that we have in the West. I would say Paul is at the center of that. And Tucker Carlson confirms that for me in this video, that the ideology of Paul is at the center of the interracial sodomite system that rules over America and Europe. Now, I like John the Baptist, and I like the writings of Isaiah, and I like that stuff, and that to me would be the impetus of Christianity is John the Baptist, who was preaching from the doctrine of Isaiah. John the Baptist never met Paul, but Paul is the source of the Catholic Church, and Paul is the source of the Episcopal Church, and Paul is what the later Christians became followers of. So anyway, let's get into this video here. We've got Battle of the Soy, the Republican doom loop, where you become right-wing only to support interracial, gay interracial government. And so this is what we call conservatism, Republicanism. And so the video, I would say, the part of this interview that I found the most interesting and the best was in the beginning where Nick Fuentes was talking to Tucker Carlson about how he got screwed over by these Republicans connected to the Daily Wire, how they conspired against him using people over at Media Matters and the SPLC. You know what I mean? That was actually quite interesting, that story that Nick told about that. And then that was the best part. And then after that part, which I liked, then it got worse, and then it got even worse, and I just had to stop watching. So I want to cover some of these points because what I'm suggesting is that Tucker Carlson is running some kind of a scam on behalf of whatever group, the Palantir group. So let's take a look at this. We've got he's interviewing Nick here.
Nick Fuentes, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I wanted to meet you. I've heard about you.
I've heard about you.
So, well, thank you. I want to understand what you believe, and I want to give you a chance in a minute to just lay it out, not what you're pivoting against, which are a lot of the same thing. You know, I agree with you on some of the things you're pivoting against for sure, but what do you affirmatively believe? So I just want to stand back and let you explain it. But first, I want to understand how you got to where you are, how you became Nick Fuentes. So this is my understanding of your.
Okay, we're not going to go through all that. I mean, if you've watched the video, you kind of know where they went with that. Then he goes into what happened with him at the Daily Wire. That stuff I found really interesting. How Nick lays out how at the Daily Wire there were all these people connected to Ben Shapiro and basically like the state of Israel trying to groom him to become one of their spokespeople, and he didn't do it. And I really respect Nick for that. So, and then I also like the fact that Nick took this other angle of we're going to destroy the Republican Party. Remember that? We're going to destroy it in favor of whatever. I don't know. At this point, I don't really know where he's going with this, but at the time, I supported that. Now, one of the things you'll notice is Tucker Carlson likes to say in this video is that, why are you going after this Joe Kent guy that I like? Why are you going after JD Vance, who I like? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? It's like these are quote, why are you're just here to discredit the movement? And what I'll tell you is, me personally at least, I don't want to be part of the conservative movement. I don't like conservatives. I don't like Republicans. I'm a registered Republican. But what is conservatism? What is it conserving? It's conserving a gay, interracial, sodomite world order, and nothing's gonna change. The Steve Bannons, the Tucker Carlsons, the JD Vances, they all work for this exact same group that's basically reconfiguring the deck chairs on a ship that's not worth riding on. I mean, I don't know if it's the Titanic, but it's definitely not going in any kind of direction that I would want. So anyway, let's listen to a little more of this video.
Your life arc.
We're going to skip ahead
You
to
show up at Boston University.
this part here.
So I realized that the conservative movement was completely bankrupt.
There you go.
In that way.
Yeah, well,
And
you're
I became
absolutely
very
right.
radical.
Well, you became. I mean, let me just say, I'm so familiar with. I was much older when it happened to me, and much more insulated. I was not a college student. I was like 45. So and I was in a much better place to withstand the pressure. But I do think and I want to. This is my main question to you: is when you get attacked, when people call you names, like they always called me racist, and I would always think to myself, I'm actually not. I would tell you if I was racist. I'm a little sexist, but I'm not racist. And I never understood why they did that. And then I thought maybe the point is to make me racist.
See, okay, so this is the garbage that he got from Alex Jones on his last interview. Remember when he interviews Alex Jones, and Alex Jones is like, well, the reason the left calls you racist all the time is, and then you get called a racist and you go, well, gosh darn it, I guess I'm going to become a Nazi. And it's like this is part of this whole Tucker Carlson. And I guess it's Tucker Carlson and JD Vance and the Republican Party trying to figure out what happened. What happened? What happened to all these young people that say they love Adolf Hitler now? What happened? How did this happen? And so they're trying to formulate some theory about how this is all caused by leftists calling them racist, and so they embraced it. So I don't buy it. I think this is just some kind of Republican schizophrenia. And here's the word. The word is polemic. The word is polemic. So I discovered this word, which I should have found a long time ago, being that I am the world's leading etymologist, which means someone who studies the origins of words. Being as though that I am the world's leading etymologist, only because everyone else isn't really that great at it, including people that write etymological dictionaries. So anyway, there's a word polemic. And I discovered this word while looking at the debate going on in ancient Greece between the ancient Greek philosophers and the Jews like Philo Judaeus, who were trying to promote the idea, this false idea, that the Greeks in Athens had plagiarized the story of Moses and this concept of receiving the word of God. And it was Philo using this as quote unquote a polemic. Now, a polemic means an argument that's designed to undermine the argument or the logic of somebody else. So somebody else's reasoning behind what they're doing or their social system or what have you. A polemic is designed to undermine that in favor of what your political philosophical system is. So it's called a polemic. And polemic comes from a Greek word, which means warlike or hostile. So it's actually in an argument, and I should have known this, this has been something I've been involved in for so long, is engaging in these arguments and polemics. Hostile arguments that are designed to undermine your enemy or the adversary, your opponent's arguments. That's like the main point of my show. That's the main point of the Brian Nato show, is that I'm engaging in polemimetry. undermining of other people's arguments because they're false. Now, I will tell you that if you want to be right all the time and never be wrong, you can never be wrong if your argument is rooted in the logos. In other words, if what you believe is the logos, natural law, the laws of physics, the laws that create the universe, that's a good starting point, is natural law. And on top of that, the natural order of society and the truth. You always want to seek the truth, and you want to seek the truth, and you want to seek the natural order of existence and the natural laws of the universe. So that's what we call the logos. That's what we call the logos. Now, Tucker is going to try and say that the reason all this stuff is happening, or he's implying that Nick took on this his views because he got called a racist by Ben Shapiro and so he adopted some of these concepts. And I'm saying that's nonsense. That is a polemic. That is a polemic that's being put forth by the Republican Party and by Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson and the J.D. Vance group with Palantir and the rest of it, because they want to suppress this faction of Americans that are racially oriented. And what I'm going to tell you right now is they're going to give you a dichotomy. The dichotomy is what we call, or what I call, Pollyanity. Pollyanity, which is Christianity as viewed by Paul, putting Paul at the center of Christianity, and Paul as the orthodox view of Christianity, which I believe is false. I believe that the orthodox view of Christianity can be found in Isaiah, as stated by John the Baptist, who was not a Pharisee, who never converted. He never converted to Christianity. John the Baptist never converted. John the Baptist was promoting Isaiah. So if you want to look at things from a Christian perspective, you have to look at John the Baptist and you have to look at Isaiah. You have to read Isaiah, because that is the impetus, that is the origin of the Christian religion, is Isaiah. And anyway, let's listen to a little bit more of this Tucker Carlson nonsense.
Where you get to a point where you're like, well, if you're going to slander me, then I'll just become the thing you're calling me. I do think that's a feature of human nature, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And if you stare too intently at the accusers, at the, whatever, Ben Shapiro's or Mark Levin's or Ted Cruz or whoever it is calling you names, it like distorts you and you actually change and become what they say you are.
Mm.
Have you thought that ever? Do you worry that happened to you?
No, I don't think it ever did.
Good. So Nick Fuentes handles that pretty well. Tucker Carlson is engaging in what's called a polemic. If you understand that that's what this is, I've never heard anyone use this term really on the internet or in discussions or on Twitter, which I'm not even allowed on. But this is the crux of the thing. It's a polemic. It's an argument designed to undermine what you're saying. Nick says a lot of things I agree with. Tucker Carlson says things I agree with. But the thing is, I'm not here to promote Republicanism. I don't care about I don't like Republicans, actually. I mean, let's put it this way. I do like Republicans that I know personally, because they're good people. They're good people. But I don't like their Republican leadership, because the whole thing is designed to mislead people and bring us to this point where we are today. I'm looking at life as an American, as an American who grew up in white Southern California, which is no longer that. And how did it get this way? And how did Republicans stand by and allow it to happen? All these good people. So the Republicans that I like are just the regular Americans. But it kind of gets complicated when I say I hate Republicans, because people identify that with the white face that rules Washington, D.C., which is not our friend as far as I'm concerned. But let me skip ahead a bit.
I know who I am.
Okay, so Nick handles it pretty good.
Yes.
Do you think that was a good choice?
Yes, absolutely.
rather than like, but why not like Antifa or,
Okay, so here's the crux of this argument he's making.
But I could challenge the credibility and legitimacy of the conservative movement and its claim to
Okay,
represent.
good. So Tucker Carlson's like, why'd you attack the Republicans, not Antifa, the ADL, and all the left? Why don't you just go attack the left? Because I'm not anything with the left. You're saying you're in something with me because you are white, because we share the same racial, religious traditions that go back to Europe. So see, you're saying you're in something with me. The Antifa's not saying they're in anything with me. And the ADL isn't saying they're in anything with me. So, I mean, I do attack the ADL a lot, but why would I spend all my time attacking the left when you're claiming that you're in something with me as a fellow American, and then you're subverting everything to just go right back into the hands of the exact same mafia that's been running this the whole time? Using your polemic arguments like, like we're all individuals, which he's going to come up with later. You notice how Tucker Carlson, because Nick Fuentes has been critical of Judaism and the state of Israel, blah blah blah. So Tucker Carlson will say, well, you can't say it's the Jews because we're all individuals. See, that's called a polemic. That's called a polemic. It's an argument. It's a hostile argument designed to undermine what you're saying. So if we're all individuals, then I guess we don't need RICO laws then, right? What are RICO laws for? If we're all individuals, why do we have RICO laws? You want to tell me that? If we're all individuals, why do we have RICO laws? Why do we have RICO laws? Why do we have laws that against the mafia that say if you're in the mafia, you get arrested for being in the mafia? I thought we're all individuals.
And conservatives. And that was kind of the mission, was to say, no, the immovable standard is America first. I'm going to represent it. And the conservative movement is going to have to move to me. I will not move towards them. And I thought maybe I'll make money and maybe I won't, but I'm going to.
So this part of the interview is pretty good. Tucker's trying to use these polemics, though. Let's skip ahead to this next one. This is called, why did Fuentes attack Joe Kent? I don't want to hear that part again. What's the next one? Identity politics. Let's listen to this.
Like us, we have to love them all, and we have to recognize that
we're required to.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the part. Okay, this is the part where it just gets overloaded with soy. The part where it gets overloaded with soy is when they start talking about how in Christianity we're obligated to believe in the Jews or something. So this is all come from Paul. Let's go back to this one a little bit here. Identity politics.
But I also think there's like a true, not just principle, but like spiritual reality that we have to defend, which is God created every person as an individual, not as a group. No woman gave birth to a community. Like, we hate that kind of thinking,
Yes.
right? Collectivist thinking like that. That's identity politics. That's what Dave Rubin engages in. That's why.
Okay, so we're supposed to hate what? And why is Nick agreeing with this? This is so stupid. All right, so let's go back. Here, listen to this.
But I also think there's like a true, not just principle, but like spiritual reality that we have to defend, which is God created every person as an individual, not as a group. No woman gave birth to a community.
Okay, so this is stupid. There's no such thing as a group. We're all individuals, and there's no such thing as groups. This is the crux of the problem. This is called a polemic. It's designed to undermine who specifically? It's designed to undermine the idea that you're going to have a racial group, and this is going to be the center of your political ideology, is your racial group. Now, putting a racial group as the center of your political ideology is the natural order, which has been going on since the beginning of human existence. Since the beginning of time, since the first humans existed on the earth, the racial group has been the center of the political order. It's based on race. It's not based on ideology alone. Ideology comes second, actually. It's based first on race and then also on ideology. So here's what the Pollyanity movement did, starting with the Roman Catholics. When the Jewish Pharisees merged with the Roman aristocracy, they said, we're going to eradicate racial groups, and we're going to put everybody under these ideologies. This is the beginning of the Dark Age, actually. The beginning of the Dark Age. See, the Greeks were racial groups. That was a world of racial groups. And out of the Greeks came the worship of Theos through the Logos. Out of the Roman Jewish syndicate, said we need to eradicate all the racial groups in favor of an ideology, and everybody must submit to this ideology, which eradicates all the racial groups except the Jews, and that they're going to be the ruling group. This is basically what the Paul group did. Paul said, "There's no Jews or Greeks, or slaves or free." So he tried to say that these racial groups don't exist. Well, that's a lie. That's a lie. Racial groups do exist. And racial groups are the core of the political systems since the beginning of time. So now you're trying to override God's design with this new ideology invented by Pharisees and Roman syndicate, which is there's no races and we're just all going to be under this universal ideology. That's what destroyed Europe, and that's what destroyed America, and that's what brought us to this point we're at now. And they're just trying to keep this thing going through the Republican Party. The Republican Party is trying to keep this thing going. It's a dead end. It's what I call the Republican doom loop. Let's continue.
Like, we hate that kind of thinking,
Yes.
right? Collectivist thinking like that. That's identity politics. That's what Dave Rubin engages in. That's why Dave is like just a child. Like, you don't pay any attention to Dave because he's like shallow. But we're not going to be that, right? Or no?
No, I completely agree with you.
Well, that's stupid. It's stupid to say that there are no races, and that we're going to put this thing called Pollyanity. I wouldn't even call it Christianity. I would just call it Pollyanity. We're going to put Pollyanity as the governing principle over all humanity. Well, no, the governing principle of humanity is the Logos, not Paul. Paul is not the Logos. Paul is not the Logos. The Logos is natural law. The Logos is the natural order of existence. The Logos is always right. So Tucker Carlson's worldview is incorrect because it's based on Paul. And he's going to admit that in a second in this video.
And, like, and not to be that guy and say that thing, but like, my best friend is a Jewish person. But here's my substantive disagreement, because as a Catholic, I could not agree more with you.
Yes.
In what you're saying. I love all people, even the ones that don't like us. We have to love them all, and we have to recognize that
we're required to.
Yes, and especially Aquinas says the Jews are a witness people.
Okay, well, that's stupid. The Jews are. What does that even mean? Aquinas says the Jews are a witness people. What are you talking about? People are people. People are people. You're telling me that Rabbi Shmuley, the butt plug dildo salesman, the vibrator salesman, that he's a witness person? Shut up. That is so stupid. So being Jewish, now here's the thing. Catholics and Episcopalians, because Tucker Carlson is an Episcopalian, Nick Fuentes is a Catholic. They really don't understand Christianity completely. They have a surface understanding of it. And this is because, in my opinion, most of the people that read these old books that developed into the Catholic Church, a lot of them were only partially literate. And because they did not have access to the original records, much of which we have access to now, they didn't fully understand a lot of the terms being used in the Old Testament. And I don't want to go into that too deeply, although I can, and I have in other videos. But one example is Tertullian saying that in Genesis 1, that's a reference to the Trinity. It's not. It's not a reference to the Trinity. The Trinity is the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit. Well, that's the Creator. The Word is called the Logos, or the light, which is associated with the Son. And the Holy Spirit is called the Pneuma, which is the breath, the life energy. So it has nothing to do with what's in Genesis 1, which was which was basically the ancient Israelites taking some of these old Babylonian records and writing a new God and a new story into them. That's why in Genesis 1 it says, "And let God make man in our image. Let us make him man." It says in Genesis 1, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness." See, the early Christians didn't know what that meant because they didn't have access to the old Babylonian records and the different gods of the Sumerians and the Akkadians. So they go, well, they must be talking about the Trinity. Well, that's not what they're talking about. See, that book is taken from an older book, which is about the Anunnaki gods. And so that was written. See, it's a complicated story. In other words, they don't know. Look, I'm saying that the God of Israel is a real thing called Theos, which is known through the Logos. And that was understood by the Israelites when they studied Greek philosophy and they incorporated these concepts into their religion to explain it. I'm getting way too complex for this video right now. Let's go back to this. So he's saying, Aquinas says Jews are the witness people. They're not necessarily. I guess they could be. Witness to what? What have they been a witness of? The so-called Jews. Is Herod a Jew? Herod was the king of Judah. Is he Jewish? You know, what are you defining a Jew as? Are you saying a Jew is what? A citizen of Judea? Is that how you're defining it? Because then that makes Herod a Jew. Was Herod a Jew according to the religion? No. But Herod built temples and wanted to go to the synagogue. Does that make him a Jew? You see what I mean? So like Jesus was, according to the story, the line of Judah. Are the rabbis the line of Judah? No. The rabbis have never been the line of Judah. The rabbis are the line of Levi. It's a different line. See, there were separate lines. The Judah line was a specific line of the royal line, and the rabbinical line, which comes out of the priestly line, was the line of Aaron, which has to do with Levi. In other words, I'm getting too complicated again for this video because I understand the book. And the Catholics don't, and the Jews, frankly, don't either. That's why they go around saying, we're the Jews, we're God's chosen people. And let me sell you this dildo with my daughter, because that's what Rabbi Shmuley does. And you've got these weird, sinister cults, and they're claiming that they're these things. I'm getting too complicated. Let's just go back to the video.
And so they actually have special protections under the law, according to Catholic philosophy.
Well, Catholic philosophy then is stupid. Pardon me for saying that. If that's the case, that's idiotic. And that proves my point that there's a syndicate in charge of Rome that started a long time ago. Started with Josephus, and it probably started before that, actually, with the Alexandria family of Egypt. That when the Romans took over Egypt, they were incorporated into the Roman aristocracy back then, before the Romans waged war on Judea. Before that, they had incorporated some of these Jewish people into the Roman aristocracy as tax collectors to collect the taxes from their race and bring it into the Roman treasury. So they became part of the Roman financial system way back then. So this idea that they have special protections, see, this is like America. Oh, well, the Jews today, they've got to have anti-Semitism laws because they need special protections. See, this is setting up the special protections classes of people. Gays have special protections, and blacks have special protections, and Jews have special protections. That's the Roman system. He just admitted it.
But I guess my substantive disagreement, which I've said on the show also, is the idea that neoconservatism and Israel has nothing to do with Jewishness, Jewish identity, the Jewish religion, because clearly the state of Israel and the neocons are deeply motivated by that ethnic identity.
Okay, so he's right about that. And then Tucker Carlson is going to go on to say, but we're all individuals, which is a polemic. In other words, it's a statement that's designed to undermine your argument. It's actually a hostile, warlike way to undermine what you're saying, right? Now, the truth is, when it comes to Jews, Jews should just go be Jewish. I don't want to stop Jews from being Jewish. I think Jews should just go be as Jewish as they want to be. And then I'm going to go do something else. And I'm not going to stop them from being Jewish. I'm not going to worry about what they're doing as long as it's not involving me and what I'm doing. But I don't believe that we're all individuals, because once you join a group, you're no longer just an individual. And so this whole we're all individuals stuff is being promoted by the Roman Catholic Church. And for a long time, we're all individuals, but you have to be part of this group. And if you're not, we're gonna harm you. We're all individuals, but then there's this mafia that we protect. But we're all individuals, and if you notice the mafia doing something, we're just all individuals again. You see, because that's the mafia that we protect. So, if we're all individuals, then why are there RICO laws? If we're all individuals, then how can you send the head of a mafia family to prison for if he wasn't there when the crime occurred? If we're all individuals, see, this is the J. Edgar Hoover garbage of there is no mafia.
And their allegiance to Israel proceeds from that. The plan of greater Israel. And
Right. Okay. All right. You win, but
no, but it's not. But it's not like that.
it-
It's just it's a little. It feels like BS to me that. And I said this on Twitter the other day. It's like I got treated like I didn't exist.
Okay, whatever.
If Dave Rubin called me tonight, which he would never do, though he has my cell, and said, I'm really sorry I called you Hitler. Like, I didn't mean it. You're raising lots of legitimate questions, which I think I sort of agree with.
Okay, so now notice how Tucker Carlson just admits that he's got Dave Rubin calling him, saying, "Hey, bro, sorry about that calling you Hitler stuff. And you're raising some really important questions." This is just more subversion. Dave Rubin and these other people are just working to subvert. See, when you start winning the argument, now they have to subvert you. See, they're no longer winning the argument. Their polemics have failed. So now they're going to call and be your friend. "Hey, bro, sorry about that." And then they want to suck you back into their thing. But see, Tucker Carlson's doing the same thing to Nick Fuentes, and he's doing the same thing to his audience. "Hey, bro, you're not a Nazi. Come on back into my Republican doom loop that goes nowhere. And let's all race mix and be friends with gay men who adopt babies." That's what they do. Palantir, Peter Thiel, runs JD Vance, runs Tucker Carlson.
I'm thinking about in a deeper way. You look great.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
And look, Tucker, that's why I'm sitting here,
Right.
I mean, because we had a contentious dialogue.
Well, I
for
thought you were
long time.
a Fed.
I thought you were a Fed.
Okay, I thought you were a Fed. See, this is more Tucker Carlson, special agent, CIA agent Tucker Carlson. Let me remind you that Tucker Carlson's father, Dick Carlson, ran a brainwashing campaign in Europe to brainwash the Germans into hating themselves and wanting to die because of believing in what happened during World War II. Tucker Carlson's father literally ruined Europe. And just like Alex Jones's father bombed Europe and killed Europeans for this Roman Catholic Judeo-Talmudic syndicate in Washington, D.C. Anyway, where was I going with that? Let's listen to some more.
Yeah.
I'm not a Fed. But whatever. I don't care what people
Yeah, we showed.
Okay, I'm not a Fed. Okay, well, I mean, your father he ran the Voice of America, right? So, I mean, you're not a Fed, but maybe like you're close to all of them, and you literally have. Well, but you talk to JD Vance. He's in the federal government, right? It's like these people. There used to be these people, and they would say, "Oh yeah, it was when whatchamacallit, that one group called Goyim Defense League had these weird neo-Nazis, and they were all like doing some protest thing, and they're like, 'We're recruiting for Ukraine.' And I would tell them, I go, 'Bro, that's the Feds.' They're like, 'We're not Feds.' I go, 'Well, you said you're recruiting for Ukraine, though.' 'Yeah, but that's not the Feds.' 'Well, yeah, it literally is the Feds. Like the Feds are at war with Russia and they're arming Ukraine and they need recruits, dummy. You're literally the Feds.' Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that. Let's listen to some more of this.
Put each other a badge as we know it.
No, but I thought you were a Fed because I was like, why not? It's not cucking to say you're not talking about all Jews when
Nobody said they were.
you oppose a foreign policy position. It's not. There's nothing.
See, they keep going into this argument like it's not all Jews. No one says it was all Jews. The point is, if you're not Jewish, then why do you need a government with Jews in it? Why not just have your own government? See, that's what I'm saying. I don't have any problem with Jewish people doing their own thing. Go do your thing, bro. Go do your thing. It's not my problem. My problem is I don't want to be in a government that you're also in. Like, we're not in a government together. We're different races. We're different races. We're different religions. We have different interests. So you go be Jewish and go enjoy yourself. Now, this reminds me of something that, let me give you a really good example. Ezra Levant, do you know who that guy is? He's with Rebel Media. He's from a Canadian media group. It's a Zionist Mossad agent running this media group in Canada. And he's Jewish. And all of his reporters and people are connected to the Jews in Israel. And he's on the Alex Jones show all the time. So he goes up to, well, what do you call it? He goes up to Ireland where they're protesting immigration, right? And there's a group out there in Ireland who are Catholic, and I like these guys, even though I critique the Catholic Church all the time and I critique the Vatican, I still do like. Let me remind you, I had an aunt back in Vermont, Massachusetts area. Her last name was Dean, and she ran this thing helping moms with their babies for the Catholic Church. And I'm so proud of the work she did. She was such an amazing woman, and she got an award from Ronald Reagan. And I think that's really awesome. Like, she was such an amazing woman, and the work that she did, I'm so proud of her. And she did it because of her Catholic religion. So it's not that I want to bash people who are Catholic, but I do like to bash the Pope and the Vatican and their agenda. Why? What is the Vatican agenda? It's LGBT, BLM, vaccines, other dangerous drugs, psychoactive drugs, hallucinogenic drugs, destroy your mind, race mixing, race mixing socialism, a totalitarian race mixing socialism system. That's all being imposed by the Roman Catholic Church. So on the one hand, what my aunt did was really awesome, and she was Catholic. What the Catholic Church does, I'm completely against it. And I believe, whereas my aunt was essentially putting Christ at the center of her drive and her motivation, the Catholic Church runs off of this Pollyanny bullshit, which is based on there's no races in the world and we're all just one big mass of people. Well, that's not true. There are different races in the world. Paul was a liar. But let me go. So there's this Rebel News guy, right? Because Tucker Carlson's saying, I thought you were a Fed, blah, blah, blah. So this is the same thing that this Rebel News guy did. And let me show you. I've got a clip of it here on my Facebook page. I've got a clip of it on my Facebook page. Where is it? Ezra Levant. Here he is. So this is Ezra Levant, and I put down here, Canadian Jew Ezra Levant shamelessly insults Irish man at an anti-migrant rally. Normal people don't insult others in their home. Very disrespectful. Like, if I went to Israel and I was walking around there and I'm in someone else's place and they were having some, let's say I was in Israel as a guest, okay? And I'm in there and there's different groups of Jews and they're doing some political stuff. I wouldn't walk up to them with a camera and go, I think you're discrediting the Jewish people. What? Business is of yours, right? That's what they would be thinking. Well, who cares what you think? You're not one of us. Why are you here insulting me in my own country? You come over here with a camera, you insult me in my country, right? This is how I look at Ezra Levant. He goes to Ireland and he insults them in their own country, calling them, watch, listen to what he says. Listen to this garbage.
I came to you just to ask you.
Watch.
Well, I think that's a very rude thing to say. It's unchristian. Well, I continue just to ask
You
you.
crucified our Lord Jesus Christ.
I wasn't there, brother.
And then you're telling me that his blood be upon us and upon our children.
I think you're a discredit to this movement.
No, I think you're a Jew and I think you should go away.
I think
you're a Jew and I think you should go away.
you're MI6
I think you're a
sent
Jew.
here to undermine the credibility.
See, did you see what Ezra Levant did? That's called a polemic, a hostile remark designed to undermine this other group, right? So he walks up to this Irish guy who's member of a far right wing National Socialist group. His name's Justin Barrett. Like, guy's wearing a jacket and a tie and a nice shirt. Like, he's dressed nice. He's just out there with his views. And here comes Ezra Levant. Oh, you're discrediting the movement. What are you talking about? What are you even doing there, Ezra Levant? Why are you there, Ezra? You're not Irish. What are you even doing there? How can you walk around with a camera and a microphone accusing the people that live there of discrediting something of Ireland? But that's the same thing Tucker Carlson's doing. That's the same thing Alex Jones does. Now, there are people that do this, though. I mean, there are people that act really stupid to discredit stuff. Anyway, let's continue.
You know what? You're so disreputable that I think that your net effect is to discredit the anti-immigration movement.
Now, what does he mean? How would you discredit the anti-immigration movement by saying, I like National Socialism? How is that discrediting anything? Well, because Hitler was horrible and he killed 6 million Jews and blah, blah, blah. Did he? I don't know. Was there a trial? Has there been a trial, or are you just making claims? I don't remember him going on trial. I don't remember any of the Nazis having an actual free and fair trial. I remember they got a trial in somewhere that was under a military occupation. Not free and fair. Anyway, so Ezra Levant does the same thing. That's the same thing Tucker Carlson is doing here. Let's listen to some more.
Liberal about that is just true. That's the Christian position.
Mhm.
Okay. And two, why are you attacking like the best people and not the worst people?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, he disavowed me for my views on Israel.
Who are these best people? I like Marjorie Taylor Greene. But how is Joe Kent one of the best people? And so I guess this is my point. I don't want to be in anything with interracial polyanity. Soy boy interracial polyanity. I don't want to be in that. So, yeah, you should attack people like Joe Kent. And you should attack people like J.D. Vance, who's tied to Palantir. That's a group that literally has a guy named Peter Thiel, who's some weird hardcore sex pervert that adopts babies. See, that's not, we can't, I don't tolerate that. You're telling me those are the best people? That's what Tucker Carlson calls the
that
best
I talk
people.
too much about white people and Christianity. And to me,
Right.
that's like a sincere ideological disagreement.
I get it.
And, same thing with Marjorie. Marjorie fired my guy.
You're one of those people. One of the reasons I wanted to meet you is you're one of those people who is defined by clips.
Yes.
And I'm one of those people also.
Yes.
Right? So I get it. So I'm going to just shut up and you tell me what you actually believe.
Yeah. Well, and listen, I mean, and I appreciate you saying that because that's just the reality of the media environment we're in. So I don't expect you to know all my views, but I mean, as far as the Jews are concerned, I think that, like I said, you cannot actually divorce Israel and the neocons and all those things that you talk about between the Jewish people and the Europeans, genetically inherited, and what you're
applicable to all Americans. Like, it's the defense of universal values that will hold the country.
Okay, here's
together.
the Tucker Carlson garbage.
Jews are
or have dual citizenship.
So my position on Jews or whatever is Jews should just be Jewish and go have a great time. Go enjoy yourself. I don't care. It's not my problem. I just don't want to be in a government that's run by Jews, and I don't want to be subjected to Jewish laws or anything that has to do with Jews. In other words, I want to have. I believe that race is the primary core of any political movement. So you start with race. So the Jews have a race, and they're going to have their race and their traditions, and they're going to set up laws and have See what I mean? So they're going to do that. That's separate from what I'm doing because I'm not in that. I want to do my own thing. That's why I like National Socialism or socialism. Ethno-socialism. In other words, the society is oriented around, it's not Marxism, but the society is oriented around the race. That's like a starting point. Just like a family is a starting point. A mom and a dad and the kids. And then they live in a neighborhood, let's say, with other people like them, and they form groups, and that becomes a race. They have traditions, they have connection, they have, you know what I mean? That's a race of people. That's the Scottish, the Irish, the Welsh, the Franks, the Angles, the Saxons, the Russians, the Italians, there's different races. Those are called the ethnos in Greek. That's normal. See, that's normal. It's normal to have different races. And then you want those races to work together. But that doesn't mean we have to all do this big so there's a difference between the races working together and the races saying that there are no races and it doesn't matter. See, that's the Republican Pollyanity garbage of Tucker Carlson, the Republican Party, that the races don't even matter. Okay, so you're saying it doesn't matter if the Irish are all wiped out and we'll just bring in people from whatever, Ethiopia, because race doesn't matter. That's what the Pope is pushing. That's what the Vatican's pushing. See, most of the stuff that you blame on Jews, the Jews are like the Jewish mafia. A lot of that stuff's coming from the Vatican. And I've been saying that, if you go through my videos, I've been saying that the whole time, is that the Vatican's pushing that. It's the stuff you don't like is being pushed by the Vatican. That's why I don't think it's a good idea to push Roman Catholicism as an alternative to Judaism, because they're in a syndicate together. Anyway, let's continue.
Listen, Shep, you really can't be a part of this project.
Well, that's an easy one. But I am much more comfortable as a Christian and an American keeping it on that level, because it's easy to just set universal rules that apply to everyone, not just the Jews or the Christians or the anybody. Just like Americans can only serve in the U.S. military, or they lose their passport. I mean, I don't know. That's not hard. And
okay, so this is sensical.
Why not just say that?
That's fine.
Say what?
That. Why not make?
Okay, so Tucker's trying to talk to Nick and say, why not just make it about universal principles? Okay, this is where we get back into the Republican doom loop. In other words, why not just make it about universal principles instead of race? So you're saying that races don't exist. See, it goes back to this whole thing of the Republican, Vatican, Jesuit, Paul. There's no races. This all comes out of Paul. There's no races. Races don't exist. This is the same thing that Muslims believe. Paul invented Islam. You know why? Because Paul says that he went to Arabia. He went to Arabia. I believe it's in Galatians. Paul went to Arabia. And in fact, he says it. He says that he didn't go. Let's see what it says here. What is it? It says, it says here, Paul stated that he did not consult with other apostles, but went to Arabia to receive his message from Christ. He believed this experience with Jesus was key to understanding and preaching the gospel. So it says right here, Paul stated he did not consult with other apostles. Now, what is the passage in the Bible? Because we'll read it. Galatians 1:17. Let's look at that. So it says Galatians 1:17, King James Version. Okay. What does it say? It says, neither went I up to Jerusalem to them which were apostles before me, but I went to Arabia. I went into Arabia and returned again unto Damascus. So he didn't go to Jerusalem, he says, where there were people who were studying and practicing Christianity. He went to Arabia, and then he went back up into Damascus. So notice how he's avoiding the actual apostles, and then he becomes the Orthodox Christian leader. He's the biggest heretic. So what I'm saying is Christianity, as it exists since the Roman times, has been run by heretics that follow Paul. And I've had this argument with Lutherans and Catholics, and they're just they just won't accept this idea that Paul is a heretic. And so what I'm saying is what you have to understand is the individuals, if you want to look at men who founded Christianity as in its original form, right? The PBS likes to do all these specials. The original Christians were communists, and the original Christians were these Essenes or whatever. That's all nonsense. Okay, the original Christian was John the Baptist. So go look at the words of John the Baptist in the Bible. Okay, go with that, and then notice how John the Baptist is basing his entire worldview on Isaiah. So Isaiah is the founding document. The writings of Isaiah are the founding documents of Christianity as a specific faction of as far as a religion that came out of this biblical work, right? Out of the works of the 5 books of Moses and so forth. The key work of Isaiah, that's the origin of Christianity, not Paul. You can just take whatever Paul said, good or bad, it doesn't matter. You got to look at Isaiah. That's the founder of Christianity. Isaiah is the founder of Christianity. Second is John the Baptist. So it's Isaiah and then it's John the Baptist. Those are the founders of Christianity. Nobody else. Not Paul, not Tertullian, not Polycarp, or any of these other people that came hundreds of years later. Isaiah is the center point. If you don't understand Isaiah and you don't understand John the Baptist, then you don't understand Christianity, and you're following a religion invented by a Pharisee who was a heretic who went to Arabia and preached the gospel to the Arabs, which has nothing to do with it. What do Arabs have to do with any of it? Nothing. That's what's so weird is the Arabs will go, Moses was a Muslim and Abraham was a Muslim and Jesus was a Muslim. See, because they got, first of all, they weren't even supposed, none of this was originally had anything to do with them. So Paul goes down there with this false doctrine, spreads it around the Arabs, and then they change it because it's so stupid. They then change it and make it into Islam. And now we have this religion called Islam, which is based on a deviation from another deviation, starting with Paul. So Paul deviates, and then the Muslims deviate. And Paul was a Pharisee because, according to John the Baptist, the rabbis had deviated. You see, according to John the Baptist, the rabbis were following their own doctrines instead of the Word of God, which we in the Greek call the Logos. We call it the Logos. They called it whatever they called it in the Israelite religion until they adopted the Greek language, and then they called it the Logos. Anyway, let me get back to this. Let's listen more some Tucker Carlson
about how Americans ought to behave applicable to all Americans. Like it's the defense of universal values that will hold the country together, and the emphasis on parochial group values that will break it apart inevitably.
Okay, so but why would I want to hold together a government that when I drive down the street, I hear these advertisements from adoptuskids.org, and it's a homosexual black man talking about how he's going to pick up a teen boy at the adoption center. Why would I want to hold that type of government together? Why would I want to hold together a government that has people from Islamic countries? Why would I want to be in a government with that? Why would I want to be in a government that's allied with Al-Qaeda in Syria? Why would I want to be in a government that imports Muslims into where I live and promotes abortion and promiscuity to my race and drugs? So why would I want to hold together a government that promotes dangerous drugs, promiscuity, and abortion to my race, and then imports these other people in from China, from India, from Arabia, from Persia, from Africa, and brings them in and then puts them in charge of everything? Why would I want to support that? Why would I want to keep that going? I don't. And so what's holding that together is this Pollyanity garbage that says there's no such thing as race. Let's listen to some more of this Tucker Carlson nonsense.
Because this is a particular issue, and it's huge. Like I said, I think they are unique in that way. I think that's a unique issue, especially.
So who's going to be president? Who should be president next?
Who should be president? Well, yay, of course. Kanye. And, you know, I guess it was going too well.
We're going to skip ahead. I don't want to hear about Trump.
Complimentary of Trump.
Kanye.
And
Let me ask you, I referred earlier to the assassination attempt against you, and it's very fashionable.
because I woke up that day and I was like, oh,
Skip.
Describe the circumstances that have led to this violence. Like, how does a normal young man go from being a normal young man to being a murderer?
I think that it has a lot.
It's interesting. What is porn exactly? Like,
And you want to move.
And that is, do you think it's related? And I'm sorry I called you gay, by the way.
Oh, God.
So if you believe that that's true, which it is, then you think that men should lead. And if
Okay, it got worse and worse. This video got worse and worse. There was one point in here where Tucker Carlson says that he follows Paul. And I wasn't able to find it for you. But Tucker Carlson says in this video somewhere, I don't want to sit and listen to it. It's really not that good. I like what Nick Fuentes was saying. He makes some good points. But when they both agree that we should follow Paul and all this stuff, that's the Republican doom loop. That's the Republican doom loop. The only thing, if you want to be, okay, let me put it this way. If you want to be right about everything forever, the Alpha Omega, the incorruptible truth is called the Logos. It's not a man. It's not Paul. It's not me. It's not Nick Fuentes. It's not Tucker Carlson. It's not Donald Trump. It's called the Logos. The Logos is the source of the universe. So that means literally the Logos is the natural laws that make up the universe. And it's the natural laws and the truths that make up reality and the nature of reality and the nature of, and the purest nature of the human soul. And so that's different than saying we're all going to submit to this one universal principle invented by Paul that says there's no races. Well, there are races. There are races, and different races have different traditions, and they have different languages, and they have different interests. And we should work. See, rather than trying to abolish something that exists naturally in reality and isn't going away, we should work with that and develop that and use that as a race and a group like that is a means of survival. So when Tucker Carlson tries to eradicate that, he's removing one of the means that people use to survive, and replacing that with this Pollyanny ideology stuff, this tradition, this Roman Catholic ideology garbage that was invented by men as an imperial control mechanism to have masses of slaves that their race doesn't matter. See, it's trying to override God's natural design. And by God, I mean theos, not the God invented by Jews, but the God that exists naturally, called theos. So, yeah. I think that's all I have to say about the subject. So let me think. Is there anything else that I really wanted to tell you about? Maybe next time. Okay, so yeah.